All right. Very good afternoon to everyone attending this RSU Conference 2021. My name is Fiona Wong. I'm from the School of Arts from Sunway University of Malaysia. So today I'd like to share with all my paper with this title, A Visual Analysis of the Eclectic Shophouse Facades of Malaysia and its Syncretism of Cultures. Oh, sorry. Was this controlled by on your side, is it? Because I didn't click on it. Oh, okay, anyway. Okay, so to begin with, it's just to share. Oh, I see. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Can I just stop sharing first? I think I clicked on the wrong file. My bad. Sorry. This is with without okay, just give me a while. Okay, yes. All right. And now to share the screen again. Share screen. Yes. I hope this is the one. Okay. So and to take up from where I left off just now. So to begin with, just a quick overview of my paper, my study. So it is a visual analysis of the eclectic shophouse facades of Malaysia, built between the late 19th, early 20th centuries. And basically I highlight on the, in particular, the Chinese Baroque or Nyonya Baroque style eclectic shophouse facades. And basically I like to bring up the idea, the notion of eclecticism and hybridity through its syncretism of cultures in the decoration ornamentation of the eclectic Malaysian shophouse facades. And I drew references mainly to the shophouses in major towns and cities of present-day Malaysia, but focusing particularly the Peninsular Malaysia, also known as the West Malaysia. And also, basically this paper is meant to address the present critical scenario of many old, refurbished, revamped, or dilapidated or abandoned shophouses throughout the country. And I'd like to call for the need for the conservation and preservation of these eclectic shophouse facades as Malaysia's cultural built heritage and legacy. And so to introduce to all, basically this study, so basically I approached this study from the visual arts or cultural perspective rather than an architecture study. And also basically the word, the terminology shophouse in Chinese, it actually in Mandarin is pronounced as Dian Wu or Shang Dian. So in Hokkien dialect, it's actually called Tiam Chu. In Cantonese slang dialect, it's that they call it Xiong Tim or Po Tao. And so basically what we see on the Malaysian shophouse facade is basically a fusion of cultures, okay? We see Greek columns, Venetian windows, Chinese roof tiles, you know, and also the bamboo and vase motif, stucco relief plasters, and also Chinese letterings as well on the signage. Yeah, so basically that's what we normally see in the facade on the Malaysian shophouses. And so when we talk about shophouses, which I believe you would be familiar with as well, because I believe in Thailand and also various parts of Southeast Asia. So we see 2- and 3-story and sometimes even 4-story shophouses in the major towns and cities in Malaysia. And we can still find single-story shophouses in rural towns or outskirts. Yeah, so we talk about shophouses, basically we know that we can identify it, you know, as a closely knit structural blocks built in uniformity. And also it basically has a very unique characteristics of a 5-foot way known as go kaki or kaki lima in Malay, in Bahasa. In Chinese, it's called Wu Jiao Ji. So it's actually an extended porchway or walkway for the pedestrians to shade them from the rain and the sun. And also business owners or shopkeepers would lay out their goods, would display, and also cafes or coffee shops would lay out their tables and chairs for customers as well. Then we look at the shophouse facades. Basically, they display different colors as well, different colored paints, and we can identify each unit of a different kind of shops, although the whole row could be identical in terms of the design. So, and also we can see stylistic ornamentation on the facades as well, you know, with the these relief carvings, again symbolic of some creatures like animals or flowers or whatnot, and that's basically more of the Chinese symbol Yeah, and signages as well in Malaysia is very unique because we are multiracial, ethnic society. So we have the not just the English language, but the Bahasa language, the Malay language. We have also the Chinese writing, Chinese characters. Then we have also the Tamil written form, and also the Arabic Jawi script sometimes. Yes. And so as we know, shop houses, they function mainly as business entity unit, and also for residential purpose as well. So normally the business would be held ground floor, and then the residential, they will stay on the upper floor. And also back then, you know, during the late 19th century and early 20th century, shop houses also function as temples, you know, Chinese temples for religion purposes, for communal gatherings for the, you know, different Chinese associations, because they come from the few provinces in southern China. So we call them clans or gongxis, okay, and also function as school and guilds as well for apprenticeship. So it is actually a Chinese built importation brought in by the diasporic Nanyang Chinese immigrants who flocked to Malay Peninsula as well as various parts of Southeast Asia during the late 19th and early 20th century British colonial administration era. Okay, and then moving on. So here you would see this photograph I took of this row of colorful shop houses, and they're called the more of a pre-World War II shop houses in Alor Kedah. So this is just to recap a bit on the provinces, the four main provinces: Guangdong, Fujian, Jiangxi, and Zhejiang. Basically, these were the southern Chinese. They were the Nanyang Chinese immigrants that flocked to various parts of Southeast Asia. So they basically landed in not just Malaysia, but you know, in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Myanmar, and various parts. And here, you could see basically how the directional arrows point. But okay, for this the purpose of this study, I'm not looking at Sarawak Sabah, known as the East Malaysia, because there isn't much of an eclectic kind of facades there for the shop houses, because they went through a different kind of British administration. It was very different from the British Central administration that happened in the Peninsula Malaysia at that time. Before Malaysia gained independence, it was called Malay Peninsula. So basically, the objectives of my study, there are three. The firstly is to examine the shophouse facades in Malaysia from a visual arts and cultural perspective rather than an architecture study. Secondly is to identify the shophouses facades with eclectic ornamentations that show the syncretism of cultures, reflective of a multicultural society like Malaysia. And thirdly, to analyze the signification and meanings of the ornamentations on the shophouse facade. I'm sorry, I think this, because I think I pre-recorded this earlier, and I just deleted the sound, and right now the words are kind of flashing. Okay, just to basically mention very quickly the methodology that I've employed in this study. Basically, it's qualitative research method and mainly observational studies of the Malaysian shophouse facades, and which I undertook. I actually went for the fieldwork. I traveled from the most northern part of the states in Malay Peninsula to the most southern part, and even went to Singapore, because Singapore was one of the British trade settlements at that time. Okay, and basically due to the limitation of this paper, I could only focus on certain towns and cities and states, and I've gathered lots of photographs, sketches, video footage, and also a lot of notes taking and transcription from interviews that I conducted with the locals, and with the data collected and which I analyzed, I was able to derive my findings. So here to share all, basically on my discussion and findings, the evolution of the shop houses, architecture styles and facade design in Malaysia. Okay, basically there are four phases, because this was actually, there was a preliminary study done by David Cole, okay, and he basically pointed out, we had the earliest prototype of a single double-story wood and atap shop house, and then followed by the early permanent shop house built of bricks and roof tiles, and then the third would be the transition shop house with the eclectic facades with all this fusion of influences and cultural influences, and then lastly would be the fully Europeanized shop house facades, which are more basically just Europeanized, Western style, and devoid of any Chinese or local elements. So this is an illustration that was done by Isabella Bird. She actually depicted this old street in Kuala Kangsar, and as you can see, is basically just a single row unit. This whole stretch of individual units of this made of simple wooden structures and atap leaves. thatched roofs. Yeah. So here, during my field work, on the highway towards Bentong, Pahang, I actually saw single row old wooden shop houses like this as well. But then because presently they have upgraded to using zinc material instead of the atap thatched roof materials. But then it resembles the earliest, the earlier prototype of the shop house. And then along the way, I saw as well, double story, like wooden shop houses like this as well. And as you can see, the entire structure is made of wood and also with zinc rooftops. And this is just to show you in Singapore at that time in 1910. So then you see a Singapore postcards showing evidence of the early permanent shop house that was done. Okay, and this is a picture I took in Alostar in Kedah, whereby I could still find an earlier, early permanent shop house. You could see the 8-panel wooden windows here, and then with vents here, and on the ground floor you could only see one door and one window. So this is actually quite a rare sight. You don't really find this in many towns, major towns in Malaysia. So here, this is more of a common sight in many towns, because there's all these triple windows, and this is not what I call a second generation of this early shop house, again in Bentong, Pahang. So, and you could see with this open window shutter, you could see the balustrades, and that's basically a Malay influence. And here you could see this is basically the next phase of shophouse style, architecture style, and also the eclectic facade comes in here. So you could see, with the Western, like Baroque influence, this European types of motifs and plastered, this kind of reliefs. And at the same time, you have Chinese words here. Okay, at the same time, you see with the windows as well is European style. Okay, and then this is up close to see this upper facade. Okay, and this is an example of this basically also another Nyonya Baroque or Chinese Baroque style of shop house in Singapore. And this is a cut corner shop house. Okay, and this is where you could see actually a very, very highly eclectic facade here with lots of symbols. You could see the Chinese vase, or you could see even the guards, the Bengal guards here as well, because that's very popular in Singapore at that time, because they're used to be employed for the army. And here you would see the next phase of fully European shop house facades, which is devoid of any of the Chinese or local Malay influences, but you could see only Greek and Palladian kind of structure. So here you see this is more of the modernist movement and the international style that came in. So that was basically the trend that came in, and therefore it was applied into the design, the architecture, and you could see these are more Art Deco kind of style of shop houses that emerged about 1920s onwards, I think, about 1920s, 1930s in Malay Peninsula. So this is a diagram which I extracted from the Urban Redevelopment Authority in Singapore, because Singapore has been, coming up with lots of these studies in terms of conservation of their shop houses. And then this is basically a diagram, although it doesn't exist a real facade, containing all the cultural elements here, but it's a diagram, nevertheless. So to close up, to have a look, basically I've outlined this myself, in green. It's basically to show you the basic structure features of the basic shop house. Yeah, we're having the jack roof, that's for ventilation purpose, and then the firewall or party wall. Basically that was a regulation that was installed in Singapore, was by Stanford Raffles. Yeah, and then again, if one unit catches fire, then the other unit would not be so much affected. Okay, and then here you could see outlined in blue are the Western or European influences. You could see in the architrave, the transom windows, the cornices, the fan lights, the keystones. So these are all the architecture features, especially for all of you in architecture professions, you would know. And then here you could see this another upper facade here with the pilasters, and then some more on like the French windows, cornices, and with dentrils. So these are very much Western influence. But then on the ground floor, you will find very interestingly, there are more Chinese influence, because with the roof tiles here, it's like an eaves, and then we have the Chinese vents like this. Okay, And at the same time, you have the half door, we call it pintu pagar, that's Malay influence. I'll come to that later in my next slide. So these are, you could see, these are some photographs I took of some of the shop houses again throughout the Malay Peninsula. So you could see these are mythological creatures according to the Chinese beliefs and their superstition. Okay, so this is actually the qilin, the unicorn, and this would be the bats, and you could see Chinese scrolls and then also the Chinese letterings, the signage. Actually, that's reflective of where they came from. And also you could see, sorry, just now back here, just now this was actually made of piece by the Chinese artisans. They use the broken shards, porcelain shards, and they would form into shapes of birds or flowers or whatnot. Okay, and you can see these are the Chinese bamboo kind of tiles as well. And this would be the vent, symbolic of a abstract bat, actually. Okay, and then here, time's up. Okay, sorry. Okay, and here then these are basically Chinese letterings. You find actually carved on pillars or columns on the ground floor, and then here you would see some of these gables. It resembles the gables, the architectures in China, and also you have these mythological creatures sitting at the edges, like again resembling those palaces as well. They have these, it's a guardian angel. Kind of concept. And here you have these gables with, it looks like mountains. Okay, and in this slide here, you see more of the Western kind of influences with festoons and decorations. It are all plastered reliefs, yeah, and stucco reliefs, yeah, here. And then here you would see the windows, and then again some more treatment on this, plastered treatment here on the pediments as well. Okay, and basically you see it's very, very heavily decorated, very intricate designs. And here on the pilasters as well, you see some more of it. And these are basically European motifs, okay, European florals and motifs. And here, but on this the right side here, you see these are more reflective of the Chinese kind of sensibilities, more towards the Chinese portrayal of their, in their Chinese scroll paintings, for example. So that they would actually have this very interesting mix of Chinese, and also the Western European motifs, next to each other on the same surface. So this is what I find very, very interesting and very colorful. Okay, and this you see Malay influence decorative features in this, what we call as pintu pagar or half doors. So this is actually a very popular feature in the Malay house, Malay structure, in the kampong, and basically this. Oh, sorry, is it time up?
Yep,
sorry.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so just to share with you, basically the balustrades and
Maybe just go through quickly. Yeah.
Okay, very quickly. Sorry. Okay, so this basically, yeah, you could read more of the details in my paper. So again, just to share, these are the symbolisms of the mythological creatures. Again, based on the Chinese superstitions and beliefs. Yeah. So basically, it's all the good fortune, good luck, good omen symbols lah. And these are, you could see basically how they're replicated on the like again stucco reliefs and whatnot. Some of it you've seen already. So this would be the amalgamation of all these culture elements, syncretism of cultures that you see on one surface, one facade. So that's the upper floor, and this would be the lower ground. The ground floor, and this is basically what you would see, Malay and Chinese influence, and you have European tiles here as well. So in conclusion, so basically it's just to sum up, I will just go through very quickly rather than reading off the slide. So actually it's basically this style of Chinese Baroque or Nyonya Baroque style shop house architecture. It marks the peak of this kind of artistic endeavors by the Chinese artisans and also the Chinese owners of the shops, yeah, especially during the 1920s and 30s. So it basically it's after when the modernist movement, international style came in. So basically that kind of marked a stop to it, especially with the introduction of high-rise buildings with steel and concrete materials. So all this kind of affected that, also because of the war as well, and also the 1930s economic depression. Yeah, and here you could see.
Sorry, maybe I think we already done. Yep. Thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any question from the audience or comments? Well, I think it's very interesting, and I wonder whether the type of the economy, maybe we can talk a bit later.
Yes. Okay. Basically, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That kind of sums it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.